warm-up man. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this, a very exciting battle tonight to discover in 2023, which is the best place to live in Portugal. Jerry's here. He is the current champion representing Central Portugal, and he'll be doing battle tonight against Paul, who represents the Algarve. We have Hank, who represents Porto and the North. And we have Astrid representing the Alentejo, Trevor representing Lisbon with a little bit of help from Shannon. I think that's everybody. That's the 5 areas. Do please ask questions about these areas. There will be 10 minutes each for each of the participants. And so just chip in with anything you think they might have missed or something you might want to know about that particular region. Thank you, everybody, for letting us know where you are this evening. I think we should get underway with those 10-minute presentations. There'll be various styles to represent those respective areas. And we will begin this evening with Paul from the Algarve. I will have a timer that will give you 10 minutes, Paul. Before you get started, let's just go through that format one more time. 5 10-minute presentations. I'll let you know when you've had 9 minutes, and I will be savage in cutting you off at 10 minutes. There will be time for a few questions at the end of the presentations, and then the voting will begin at 20:45. And somebody tonight will be eliminated from this battle to pave the way for 2 semi-finals. So, Paul, Mr. Richards in the Algarve, looking a little bit sun-kissed today because the weather's been lovely. Are you ready with your 10 minutes representing the Algarve, sir?
I certainly am, Carl.
Take it away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the warm Algarve. Let's face it, it's the best place in Portugal for the weather. No question about it. And I'm talking about 12 months of the year. Do you know we have over 3,000 hours of sunshine? Incredible. But the average temperature in the Algarve for the year is only 22 C. And the reason for that is we have the Atlantic Ocean, and we have the Mediterranean at the bottom there. So the cool wind comes from the Atlantic, but the warm weather comes from the Mediterranean. And I'll tell you a strange thing. For people who are thinking to come and live in the Algarve, or even in Portugal, for the elderly people, if you come with the old aches and pains, which we all have, do you know, within 6 months, those pains have gone. It's amazing. But it's just the climate here. It's just so good. So let's talk. If you're not familiar with the Algarve, I'll give you some little facts and figures, and I won't bore you too long with that. But basically, with the southern part of Portugal, we go from the west coast right to the Spanish border. It's approximately 150 kilometers long, and it goes from the coast upwards for approximately 50 kilometers. We have over 5,000 square kilometers of land mass, and we have over 200 kilometers of coastline. So we're not doing bad, really. We got the weather, we've got the coastline, and wherever you go in the Algarve, you're not far from the sea. But don't just think that it's beaches. We have some of the most beautiful places inland, that with 4 national parks, for example. So you've got trees, you've got everything. We also have a little mountain in the Algarve, Monchique, which rises to approximately 903 meters. So if you want the pleasant drive up to the top there, you can see quite a lot of the Algarve from that area. So, as far as routes are concerned, roads, and I know it can be a problem in the north, but not here in the Algarve. We have the A22, the motorway, which goes from Lagos all the way straight across into Spain. No turn-offs, one road, off you go. We also, of course, adjacent to that, the famous the N125, which goes right from the edge of Sagres right across to the very border, or the border, shall we say, the Portugal's end of that part of the country. So no problems with roads or anything like that. So let's look at some of the things that the Algarve could, because when you come to live in the Algarve, it's different than being a tourist. You need certain things. And the Algarve, of course, has got some incredible hospitals, both private and also public. If you're going through the D7 process, I would really recommend, after the period of having to have a private hospital, to keep it, because I'm not joking, some of the private hospitals, it's just like going in a hotel. It's wonderful. And there's no waiting. You need something, it's done within hours, not months. It's as good as that. But the public one, We still have plenty of those. Education-wise, we've got 2 universities in the Algarve. We've got one in Faro, and we've got one in Porto and North. So, you know, there's no problem if you're bringing your children across for education. That's very easily applied here in the Algarve. What else have we got? We've got lots and lots of international private schools. So it doesn't matter if you're English, American, or in German, or whatever country you've come from. There is a private school here that can take care of your children's education. Very simple. So what else can we say? Oh, one thing that maybe we should mention here is that if you're coming to work here, the business opportunities in the Algarve are quite incredible. Okay, we're a tourist place, so anything involved with tourism, the application of that, you have the chance to get there and involve your own business or become part of a business. It's here, it's waiting for you. And if you are lucky enough to speak more than one language, especially English and Portuguese, then I can assure you, they're waiting to see you. They want you here, I assure you. So that's the bread and butter of the Algarve. What about facilities? What can we offer? Well, we can offer you everything twice. I mean, when you imagine we've got over 200 kilometers of coastline, so anything to do with water sports, it's here, it's happening. And remember, in the Algarve, the sea's warm, yeah? It's warm here down here. So no problem being in the sea. If you're into the boating world, we have some of the best marinas, not just in Portugal, but in the whole of Europe. And a lot of the people who do the sailing and that, they sort of put their boats in winter storage here in the Algarve because the brokerage here is fantastic and it's a lot cheaper than some of our fellow countries. So if you're in the sailing world, it's the place to be and to leave your boat. So what else do we do? Well, if you come to Portugal, you've got to be involved in football. You've just got to be in football. And every little town has its own little place. But in Faro, would you believe we've got our own stadium, which can seat up to 30,000 people. So we're well covered with the football. Now let's talk about golf. Oh, have we got the golf courses? Oh man, you want to see them. And most of these golf courses have been designed by the professionals, the big names. And of course, along with the golf course, you have the super fantastic hotels. So it's a world of there. We also have a lot of cycling events here. So cycling is quite big. We have international events, but wherever you go in the Algarve, there's a little club and they're all there on the bicycles and they're pedaling away. Good luck to them, I say. I'll stay with the car, to be honest with you. They've also horse riding. I mean, every single sport that you can think of, we do it here. The one thing that we have got, which nowhere, anywhere in Portugal can come near, we have our Formula One racing track. So all the big boys come. It's very big for the motorcycle world. We just recently had the big GP, international GP. And when they're not using it, you can come with your own car or you can rent and be taken around the circuit with a racing driver and then he'll let you loose. I mean, I don't know why they do it. You've got to be insured, of course, but the facility is there for you to use if you want to try yourself. If you want to become the new Hamilton, here's your chance to do it. Alongside that, of course, we've got the biggest go-kart circuit in the whole of Europe. And a lot of people start on the go-karts and then they sort of branch out to the big stuff, the Formula One. Well, not maybe the Formula One, but everything else. But it's fun to go around the racetrack. They're very friendly, they're very helpful. You can hire it for an hour, a day, whatever you want. If you've got the money, of course. You need that. So I would say that if you're not doing sport, what else can you do in the Algarve? What else is there? Well, a lot of people don't know this, but in the last 10 years, the wine industry has come alive in this part of the world in Algarve. We've over 30 wineries now. And the tourist board in the Algarve are trying to set up tours for people to go around the various wineries. And this is something new. But I mean, we have the weather. We have this fantastic weather for wine growing. And I think maybe some of our northern cousins might be starting to get a little bit worried about the wine that's starting to come from the Algarve. The other thing which I think you should realize that we have a lot of famous people who live down here. And why do they come here? Because it's the best place. It's that simple. It's that simple. The Algarve offers everything. I mean, how often can you go in your local supermarket and there's Cliff Richards there buying some peas? I mean, you know, this is morning and everything else. That's how it is down here, you know. It's friendly. Everybody talks to everybody. And that's the one thing I've got to tell you. The Portuguese people here are fantastic. And the good thing about the Algarve, of course, they nearly all speak English. So the language problem isn't a problem down here.
1 minute to go, please, Mr. Richards.
No problem. I'm only scratching the surface of the Algarve down here. 10 minutes is just not long enough, I'll tell you, with so much to offer you. So I would say to anybody, look, come down here. We're waiting for you. We want you to come. We want to look after you. We want to be friendly. And we might even buy you a drink at the local bar. So we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you. So I would say, come on down. And I look forward to meeting all of you. If you have any questions, please, I'm here to answer them for you. Welcome to the Algarve, and don't leave it too long.
The unofficial mayor there of the Algarve, by the sound of it. Excellent stuff. Yes, please, jazz hands and applause in your Zoom windows there. And very nice. Your competitors are applauding you there. Cracking start, Paul. Thank you very much. Aches and pains gone since moving to the Algarve, or within 6 months. I think Jerry has another approach to that in central Portugal for getting rid of aches and pains. We'll hear about that later on. And we do have questions coming in. I'll keep all the questions until after everybody has had a chance to present. Nunu wanted to let you know as well, a little bit of support from Nunu. Monchique has one of the most well-known springs in Portugal because its water has a pH of 9.5. I've got some with me tonight, funnily enough. We didn't set that up, but it is some of the best water in Portugal. So there you go, from that mountain that Paul mentioned there. Sold in every supermarket as well in Portugal. So questions coming in. Thank you for those, Barak Amit, as well, for your questions this evening about Algarve, and no doubt questions to come in from the other regions. We've got Porto and the North to come. We've got Alentejo, we've got Central, and we have got Lisbon as well to come. And we will be going to, I'm going to say a few more hellos to people who are tuned in tonight. We're going to go to Trevor Nick. So get ready, Trevor, for your 10 minutes. We have Alison and Michael saying gloves on. The gloves are off psychologically. I was hanging out with these guys before the recording started, and I can tell you, although they're smiling at each other, the gloves are off psychologically, if not physically. We've got Susie checking in from the Airstream again, Lake Mead, Nevada. How lovely. James saying Lisbon region is best. So that kind of heckling is welcome as well. If you want to shout out support for your particular area, your favorite area of the country, please do so. Hello from Florida, visiting Portugal this summer to see what area I like best. I hope this helps tonight, Debbie. And we had somebody checking in. Oh, yeah, John. Hello from San Diego County in Florida in California. I think that was a typo, not a new part of America that we can learn about this evening. It's all about Portugal tonight. So let's go to the capital. Trevor, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's see, but Paul, you did a great job. I'm ready to come down and you're buying me a drink.
Yes, so there you go. Is your presentation ready there, Trevor?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start your 10 minutes. 3, 2, 1, and go, sir.
Okay, so hopefully everybody can kind of see this.
We can see your presentation. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a Lisbon district. Runs from all the way down here in Lisbon, up to Cascais, up the coast through Ericeira, up to almost Peniche, and just about 20 kilometers south of Peniche is, forgive me if I butcher some names, Lorena. It's 20 kilometers south, and it's one of the few brandy making areas besides Cognac and Armagnac and Jerez. So that's just right at the tip of the northwest of the Lisbon district. As you kind of move in a little inland, you've got the Serra de Montejunto protected landscape, which is part of the Extremeño limestone massif and is rich in caves, ponds, prehistoric fossils, camping, everything going on up there. So that's kind of the northern Lisbon district. A lot of things going around. Now, we have not been around too much of that, but when we come down to Ericeira and Mafra, Mafra is known for its Mafra National Palace, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And that's on our list of places to go. but of course, they've also got an enclosed wildlife and game reserve there. Ericeira is the World Surf Reserve, which is the second in the world. I think James lives there, so he can attest for that. So then we start coming down to our neck of the woods, and this is what we're kind of why we live here. So from Lisbon, we jump on the metro, take the train up to Sintra in the morning, go to the Park and Palace of Montserrat, Park and National Palace of Pina, go to Quinta de Regaliera. That's the initiation well, but besides that, Sintra is just kind of a national wonder. I mean, if you have not been to Sintra, you're not going to find anything like it in the rest of Portugal. You've got the National Palace, the Parks de Sintra, Monte de Leu, Castelo das Moras, the Convent of the Capuchus, Sanctuary of Penina. Just a lot of things to do in Sintra, and it's just a great vibe, and it's a great climate. So when you're in Lisbon, you want to take a day off and just get up. You just wake up within a little over an hour, you're in Sintra, just enjoying yourself. And we just did that with our kids and grandkids, and took them to Quinta de Regaliera. The grandkids love going through the tunnels, going through the grounds, going up in the castles. We skipped Pina for the grandkids so they could have a real good time there. So just something really special, having that within an hour's reach to wake up and go, let's go to Sintra. So then when you're done having a good time in Sintra, you hit the Portuguese Riviera. First place we go to is a beach club in Cascais, and just love cruising around Cascais. You can take a good swim. The water is perfect. Don't let anybody fool you about the Atlantic. We were just there. The grandkids were swimming. I was swimming. It's 3 degrees warmer than Huntington Beach, where we lived in Southern California. So the Atlantic being colder than the Pacific is not happening on the Portuguese Riviera. So we were in. I got some nice video of all the grandkids just jumping in and enjoying it. Once you get done with Cascais, you got to go surfing. So you got to go a little further down and go to Carcavelos Beach. There you're going to get some pretty good surf, and there's some surf schools, and it's got the nice fort out on the edge. And once you're done doing a little surfing, where do you go? You go to the casino in Estoril, James Bond made famous. So yeah, that's the next picture where we went going down to Estoril. So finally end up through Belém on the way back, but we decided to skip that for this trip and just hit Lisbon. So here's our daily picture. We go to Eduardo the Set Park 5 or 6 days a week since our club's there. So that's your view every day in the upper left as you're going into the gym. Is not a bad one. When you get down towards the water, you can take a look at the view across the Tagus of the statue, and then go up in the Arco de Augusta and get a view of Praça de Comercial. So these are kind of some of the touristy areas. Not really. I mean, Eduardo Park is really kind of locals to. Everybody's there. It's just a great place to exercise, have fun, have picnics, enjoy a great view. So now we kind of get into everyday life if you're living in Lisbon. So for us, right up the street is the Jardim de Alameda de Alfonso Henriques. So we took this from the top of the Fonte Luminoso, which is a historic monument, because all down in here is the colleges. So worldwide, right now we just met a few European students that are going to school. They're currently living above us, and we helped them out this morning. But if you go a little bit further up the street, you go to Campo Pequeño, which is the bull ring, also a concert venue and also a shopping market. And then lastly, we kind of had a little bit of the Vasco da Gama Bridge. When you're out there in Park of Nations, walking along the river, the park just runs forever, and they got skate parks, bicycle parks, all sorts of parks, and it's just gorgeous area out there, walking around. I think we got a couple of videos of that too. So I just wanted to include, just for people, this is a municipality park map of Lisbon City. And if you look at all the green, I venture to say over 25% of Lisbon is park area, from Monsanto to Eduardo, our park up the street, Campo Pequeño area, Vasco da Gama in the upper right-hand corner. It really is. And the best thing about the parks here in Portugal is they all have kiosks, which all have draft beer. So you are never too far away from a draft beer if you're in Lisbon, as you can see on the map. But the real thing we like about living, because we're basically right in central Lisbon, is the metro, bus, the train, and the ferry system are outstanding. You can get anywhere. But because we live in central Lisbon, you can walk everywhere. We can walk within 40 minutes. We're at the ferry terminal at Costa Sodre, or we're at Eduardo Park. And the quality and quantity of healthcare providers here is outstanding for us. You're never more than a 20-minute bus ride or a 10-minute metro ride from healthcares. The universities are all over the city. The other thing we like about it is we've walked over 800 miles in Lisbon last year, but just in our neighborhood, within under 500 meters, we have two Pingo Dos, a Continent Bom Dia, a Mini Preco, a Maio Sean. If you go another kilometer out, you got two Littles, the Orios Mercado, the January 31st Mercado. So you've got all that stuff. But if you do need healthcare and you want to attend a sporting event, Sporting CP is in Alvalade, which is also CUF Alvalade. So you can get healthcare and watch sports at the same time. So I just wanted to walk you through, when we walk out our front door, we take a right, and then we take another right, and one more right, and we're getting the best Mexican and vegan food in Portugal. And we end up at Miradora de Pena da França.
1 minute to go, Trevor. 1 minute to go.
Yeah, so now you're on the cliffs of France. You're walking down the Miradoras. You hit the Castle St. George, finish up there, end up at the Chapel of St. Vince, and then you have the monastery at St. Vince. Walk out of there and go to the National Pantheon. Walk out of there and go to the Lisbon Military Museum. Walk out of there, go to the Fado Museum. Walk out of there and you're at the water. So that's what your day is like in Lisbon. Just take a walk, hit some castles, hit some museums, hit some churches, hit some monasteries. Ciao, ciao.
Okay, thank you very much. No need for the buzzer there. Very nicely done. Wonderful, Trevor. And loving the additional commentary from Nuno as well. Thank you, Nuno, for being here tonight with your additional asides. Yes, Trevor, says Nuno, Serra de Monte Junto is a fantastic place to hike. Remember that in Portugal, he says, camping out of the proper camping camps is forbidden. And the Quinta da Regaleira in Sintra is magic. You cannot miss visiting that. So fantastic. Good stuff. And Monsanto, designed to be Lisbon's lung, you say. Nice point there, Trevor, about Lisbon having 25% green space. What a lovely thing to know about the city. Jerry, at this point, how are you feeling as a reigning champion? You've heard from Paul, you've heard from Trevor now. How are you feeling? You must be a little bit trepidatious.
No, not in the least, Carl. I mean, all I hear from Paul is money, 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 and more money. Has he ever tried to buy a ticket? Has he tried to buy a ticket to Formula One? And, you know, from Trevor, well, you know, Lisbon is a day trip. It's no big deal. I can go there as often as I want. So no, I don't feel threatened. I'm feeling quietly confident. Thanks, Carl.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that input there, Jerry. We'll hear from Jerry at the end of the presentations to come now. Well, we've got Hank next. Then we'll have Astrid for the Alentejo and Jerry to climax the competition this evening. Hank, I've got 10 minutes for you. Are you ready with your presentation? Are you ready to go and delight
Ready.
about Porto and the North? Ready. Okay. So off you go, sir.
Ready to go. Hi, everybody. I want to thank my colleagues and friends and opponents. I think I should probably start off with a definition of the North and give you some statistics about it. The North is the most populous region in Portugal, and it has an urban metropolitan area consisting of close to 3 million people. Includes cities such as Braga, Guimarães, Póvoa de Varzim, Vila de Castelo. Now, I was listening to the previous presentations. They were fantastic. And I suspect that the following presentations will also be fantastic. But I'm left wondering whether or not they lived there or if they were sharing with us their vacation photos, back home, rather than telling us what the place is really like. So I'm prepared to concede any discussion about culture, food, wines, music, healthcare, education, beaches, and all that sort of stuff. These are not topics that I've found very interesting because you can look these things up on the internet. You can also read about them in any Rick Steves travel guide. The question that I'm most interested in, and I think which will give people the best sense of the North, or any particular region in that matter, is talking about the spirit of the region and what that means and a feeling that it gives you. And I'll also talk a little bit about that, and I'll talk about, a little bit of culture and climate at the end if we have time. So what do we mean when we talk about, the spirit of an area? What do I mean? I'm not exactly sure, but there's different definitions of it. So, you talk about the feeling of an area, the spirit, the energy. My friend James talks about the energy of the area and what it makes him feel like. Whenever I talk with people, and I've talked with people from all over the world, from one end of Portugal to another, that's a conversation that comes up time and time again. Well, this place spoke to me. This place gives me a certain feeling. This place, has a character. I think I would call it a character to it. So, what's the character of the North? Well, I'm a foreigner and I'm having a struggle to define exactly what it is, but there is something here. So in Gaia, they have an advertising campaign saying, Gaia has spirit, come live here. What is that? I have some suspicions about what that feeling is, what that spirit is, but I don't know exactly what it is. I've struggled to find it, but I think that history can tell us a little bit about it. I think it can guide us and get us in the right direction anyway. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the history of the North as I understand it. And to my Portuguese friends, if I mess any of this up, please forgive me. Okay, so first thing I want to talk to you about is, the founding of Portugal, right? Portugal's first king, Dom Afonso Henriques, established the kingdom of Portugal after winning independence from the King of Leon. So the North gave birth to Portugal, right? And not only did that happen, but the Portuguese language evolved in the North as well. And this specific dialect is known as Northern Portuguese and was taken south as the kingdom expanded. So Portugal started in the North. Porto's shipyards, let's move on to talking about Henry the Navigator. Shipyards that built the ships used by Henry the Navigator were built in the North. So Porto launched the Age of Discovery from the North. And since 1415, Porto citizens have been known as tripeiros, which means tripe eaters. Why? Because the sailors were given the best parts of the meat while the citizens sacrificed and had the leftovers to enable the sailors to be successful on their trip. Moving on to 1640, Porto supported the riot in Lisbon that would break Spain's grip on the Iberian Peninsula. Then in the 19th century, Porto gained a reputation as a liberal and progressive city because of its ongoing struggle for civil rights. Many important writers and poets have made their home in the North. In 1820, a liberal revolution began in Porto, demanding a constitutional monarchy. Now, that was established, but it led to an authoritarian named Miguel of Portugal taking the throne. After that, Porto rebelled, and a revolution broke out and spread to the rest of the country. So Porto led a rebellion against an authoritarian. Soon after, Porto was sieged for 18 months. in response to this. Miguel sieged the city. And ultimately, Porto won, the North won the siege and forced Miguel to abdicate because of the sacrifices of the northern people. So this victory led to Porto being named Cidade Invicta, the unvanquished city. In 1891, another revolution began in the north, which resulted in the final overthrow of the monarchy. And this resulted in the proclamation of a republic by the 5 October 1910 revolution. Now, some 30 years later, a counter-revolution was launched in an attempt to restore the monarchy. Well, the people of the north said, we're not doing this again. And so the monarchy of the north lasted less than 30 days. The north defeated this kingdom, and no other monarchist government came to power ever again. So finally, Porto was the site of a marriage between John I of Portugal and Philippa of Lancaster. Now, this marriage came to symbolize a long-standing military alliance between England and Portugal, which is the oldest recorded military alliance in the world. So there's a lot more of these historical facts, which I think have contributed to the overall feel and spirit in the North, the character of the North. This is a character that I've found to be marked by a progressive spirit of independence, defiance, loyalty, sacrifice, and generosity. So this feeling you have in the North is one of, well, this is where Portugal began. These are people that are loyal, but are also defiant, right? They'll only put up with so much for so long, and they're self-sacrificing. And so you see that in your day-to-day interactions with people. And it's a liberal and progressive city. Our gay brothers and sisters are welcome in Porto. It's a diverse town. You have people from all over the world here. I've met people from Mozambique, from Angola, from Brazil, from Germany, just to name a few. And everyone is welcome. So when you talk about why do you prefer living in a particular area, there's a spirit to that area that's going to speak to everybody for different reasons. For me, it's this spirit, being somebody who is anti-authoritarian, someone who despises being told what to do. You know, the people up here seem to have that too. And I think that begins to describe a little bit of what's the North, right? And I think this is what's interesting to me, because we can debate healthcare, we can debate certain things, but they're self-evident. For example, what's the best beer in Portugal? It's not even debatable. Superboc is clearly the best. You know, who has the best football team? It's not even worth mentioning. FC Porto is clearly the best team in all of Portugal. So, you know, you can talk about that. You can talk about the food and all these other things, but it's Portugal. From one end of the country to the other, you're going to have wonderful beaches. You're going to have wonderful people. You're going to have wonderful food and wines and all those sorts of things. Now, with the last minute, 2 minutes or so that I have left, I will touch on some of the culture things and the climate things, because people are interested in that. If you want to talk about culture, you can talk about all of the UNESCO sites that are in the North. So, for example, in 1996, Portugal was recognized, the North was recognized, Porto, as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can visit Bom Jesus de Monte outside of Braga. Guimarães is the birthplace of the country, and that's where Afonso Henriques proclaimed himself king and made his first capital. This is also a UNESCO site. Ponte de Lima, famous Roman bridge. Douro Valley, of course, port wines, right? And I talked about the rebellious nature of the Portuguese people. I didn't even talk about the rebellion of the drunkards. It's a fantastic story. Talk a little bit about the climate with my 1 minute that I have left. Warm Mediterranean, hot Mediterranean climate along the Douro, but along
you
most
do
of
have exactly 1 minute left, Hank.
Yes. Temperate summers and mild winters, moderated by the Atlantic. You've got rainfall. We actually have green, which is weird coming from California. We have seasons. So the Algarve has got hot all the time, or, you know, all that sun that they talked about. Okay, fine. You know, if that's your boat. I like rain. You know, the rainy cities up here, Villarreal, Braga, Viana do Castelo, the climate is very similar to the San Francisco Bay Area where we are from, and again, has seasons. So today I spoke with you about the thing I like most about the North, its unique character, which is shaped by an amazingly rich history. We touched on it in its culture and the pleasant climate. Portugal is an amazing place filled with wonderful people, places, and culture, and you're going to find a place that speaks to you. Thank you.
Beautifully done. Just before the buzzer there. Very good. Perhaps the most controversial of our presentations so far. Thank you very much, Hank. And I see what you did there, taking that spiritual, energetic approach and somewhat political as well, as we come to expect perhaps from you. I say controversial. Wasn't Coimbra the original capital of Portugal? We'll come back to more of those questions later. You are, of course, I suppose you could describe yourself as a Tripeiro Novo, couldn't you? A new tri-Peter. And Trevor saying, don't dismiss the Lisboetas. They're the lettuce eaters. I think I know which I'd prefer to eat out of tripe or lettuce. And Nuno again with commentary here. Hank, Porto, the best team. You just lost the competition as far as he's concerned. Thank you, Gail. Guimarães was amazing to visit. And this is while Astrid's getting ready for the Alentejo in just a moment. Guimarães was amazing to visit and stayed at a posada there. They're like the hostels, aren't they? And liked Porto too. We'll see what happens here, Hank. We are moving to central area. Hard choices. Yikes. Okay, so we thought she was leaning towards Porto, but no, central perhaps. And you had encouragement from Ed and Sharon. We are most interested in Porto. Go, Hank. So it's time to go, Hank. You've had your time, and it's time to go, Astrid. So over to you, Astrid, for your 10 minutes. Are you ready?
I am, Carl. Thank you.
Excellent. Take it away, please. Your 10 minutes begins now.
Great. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about the Alentejo. I just wanted to put it out there because a lot of you know that I don't live in the Alentejo, that I live in Cascais in Lisbon. And that's primarily because of my family's requirements to be close to the Lisbon airport. If I had my chance to live in the Alentejo permanently, I would be there without a doubt. In fact, I did live there for 5 years up until 2017, and that's when we had to move to the big smoke, unfortunately. But I do have a holiday home in the Alentejo, and we also spend holiday times there too. So I just wanted to put that out there. If people are saying, how can she push the Alentejo if she doesn't live there? That's the reason. So I'm going to just present to you a little bit. I think images and photos speak 1,000 words. So I've got some images to show you of the Alentejo. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, well, we're beginning to, yes, perfect.
Okay. So firstly, the Alentejo is, okay, so the Alentejo is set in the south of Portugal between the Tagus River and the Algarve. The east borders with Spain and the west is bathed by the Atlantic Ocean. It is an extensive region, essentially rural and sparsely populated, which makes up about 1/3 of Portugal. So being here today and selling the Alentejo is a very complicated thing because there is so much to it. If you can imagine, 1/3 of this country is the Alentejo. So it's huge. It's, yeah, so many different lifestyles to be able to offer and so many different things that can be found depending on what your preferences are with your living lifestyle. I put this image in because it's pretty much what people might associate with the most with the Alentejo. So the nice flowing fields with it's all yellow during the summertime as it goes really dry. In spring, it's filled with spring flowers, and as you can see here, and the cork oak is the major tree that you'll find across the Alentejo. So when you open the bottle of wine and you have your cork from your bottle, it's highly likely to have come from the Alentejo. The landscape is very, very sparse in the majority of the areas, but it's not the only thing that the Alentejo has to offer. So you've got beautiful villages. This one here is of Évora, which is an amazing village in the center of the Alentejo. So if you are looking for a bit more of a, I guess, a cosmopolitan kind of lifestyle, you can find some thriving little cities in the area, as well as rural vacation spots. Of course, the wine from the Alentejo, it is one of the renowned areas for great wines, both heavy reds as well as white wines. So the landscape also accommodates for acres and acres or hectares and hectares of beautiful grapevine vineyards, so which look amazing. A lot of them also have accommodating restaurants too. So if you do like to go and sample the wines with some food, it's an ideal place to go to. The olive trees and olive groves are everywhere in the Alentejo. Some of the trees are, I think the oldest trees are about 1,500 years old, so planted back in the Roman ages, and they're still there today. So you'll see a plantation after plantation of olive groves. Although you do find them in other areas of Portugal as well, they're just, for me, much more spectacular in the Alentejo area. So the landscape isn't just about the cork. You do have the olive plantations too. But did you know that the Alentejo also has an amazing coastline? So it's the Alentejo coastal region, and the beaches are just absolutely spectacular. So here's an example of an amazing place for you to visit with the beach. But if you're also looking for something a little bit more rugged, then you've got the Alentejo coast, which is pretty spectacular and rugged as well. So pretty much the Alentejo offers everything that you can possibly think of, from the interior close to Spain to the coastal region just under Lisbon. So if you do live, that's a point based on what Jerry said before, that if you do live in the Alentejo but a little bit south, you can go to Lisbon for day trips. And to the far border in the east, close to the Spanish border. From Lisbon, it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So it's very, very convenient if you do want to do weekend trips or visits. So just a couple of things, or a few things about the region is there's definitely adequate public transport to get around. There's buses and trains. The closest airports would be Beja, Faro, as well as Lisbon. So if you do need to travel, then by all means, you can make your way around very, very easily. You can also cross the border to Badajoz in Spain if you wanted to catch an Iberian air flight somewhere. So that's also a close drive away, just across the border. So another option for a fourth airport if you want. As mentioned before, it's home to some of Portugal's best wineries and eating destinations. So if you're a foodie and enjoy your wine, then this is definitely the place for you to be. There's something for everyone, from the coastal and to the rural living. As I mentioned, there's something for everybody. The property prices remain affordable, as it isn't really known as the hotspot in Portugal. So that's great if you wanted to come and either buy something absolutely amazing, or if you've got a smaller budget for your home. So you'll definitely find something here that is right for you. And there's plenty of cultural and historical cities, including the World Heritage listed Évora, as mentioned before. 1 second. Hello. Sorry, there's someone at the door. Okay. So I just put an example here of what affordability is like in the area. So this is a new build, actually, in an area in the Alto Alentejo. It's a 3-bedroom house, so T3, selling for 105,000 euros. So definitely affordable and brand new. So who wouldn't want that? So for me, as I mentioned, I do stay within the Alentejo for holidays. To give you a couple of examples of places that I like to visit, is Troia, which is a very modern area within the Alentejo area. And so if you are into all the luxury hotels and fancy restaurants and modern living, then that's definitely an area for you to take a look at. There's also Porto, which is a place we go to annually, which is a beautiful little fishing village with amazing seafood that gets brought in on a regular basis, and you know, just an amazing spot to visit. So it's very, very nice place to go. So where I have my holiday home and where I used to live permanently is in a village called Castelo de Vide. It's right next door to Mavão, which is the tallest or the highest village in Portugal. They're pretty much, you can see one one castle from the other, because during the time of invasion, they used to alert each other if there was anyone invading from the Spanish side, because you can actually see across to Spain, being that it's about 10 kilometers away from the Spanish border. Mabao is also listed in the New York Times 1,000 places to visit in your lifetime. So it's absolutely spectacular village, and just picture perfect, too good to be true kind of thing. So definitely worth visiting. So again, in this area where I'm used to, you've got the village lifestyle. If you want to, you can see that everything is within the fortress walls, or you can get the land outside of that, which is what we have. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, and then
1 minute to go, Astrid.
Okay. So the reasons that I love it is it's less populated. The properties are of larger sizes. So our farm is 44 acres or 16 hectares. Other parts of Portugal, they're much smaller. So if you do like more land, then that's the option. There's more natural fauna, so not so much eucalyptus. That means less fire danger too. So the area is not really known for the fires that ravage Portugal during the summer. I love the weather extremes as well. So the summer can get over 40 degrees or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and winter's about 5 degrees Celsius or 41. It sometimes even snows, so that's a really nice thing as well. It's very traditional Portuguese. In fact,
that's me impersonating a buzzer there. The first time I've had to use it tonight.
Is that my time up?
That was quite convincing, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yes,
I had to save the...
But great job there. You might be a little, between you and me, Astrid, you might be able to sneak in a little bit more information when it comes to answering the questions, but I can't allow you to sneak anything else now.
I'll just have to save the rest for round two.
Please,
I'm going to make it.
But you're absolutely right. You said pictures can paint 1,000 words. So thousands of words were painted there. Very beautiful. And I fell in love with Portugal even more just watching your presentation there. So thank you for that. Very beautiful. I think Paul has put his house on the market. He saw the price of that property there. I think he's moving to the Alentejo. He's bagging a bargain tonight. So great job. And interestingly as well, I see that we've got this overlap, haven't we? Trevor, I don't think, decided to include south of the river in the Lisbon presentation. So I think that you get that, Astrid, as well, don't you? And Nunu's saying about that, that you get to see dolphins. Setúbal is the Portuguese hotspot to see dolphins in the wild on that coast, which certainly drops down into the Alentejo there. So absolutely beautiful. A few more comments before we go to Jerry. Jerry getting ready now. This sense of history in Porto really spoke to me. The family, however, preferred Lisbon and the surrounding areas. We'll have to explore further when we get there for good. That's Paul. Thank you, Paul, for that input. And yeah, I hope tonight helps. Gets pretty hot then, ever responding to your presentation from Gail here, Astrid. Also, we've heard, and our friends that landed there escaped to Sintra for a couple of years to cool off. Had to go away for a couple of years to cool off. As you can see, Jerry getting ready now. Last but not least, he is the current champion. Somebody will get knocked out tonight after Jerry's presentation. There will be a vote after we've had a few questions, and the panelists, the combatants here, have had a chance to rise to the occasion with your questions that come in. But there will be a sudden death, really, for one of the five here tonight. We will vote, and one of the people here will be eliminated this evening, and we'll go to two semi-finals thereafter for the next couple of months. And we'll see now how good Jerry's looking as reigning champion. And a little bit of added transparency here. I live on the Silver Coast. It's not been mentioned tonight. I guess you're claiming that, right, Jerry? Certain
yes.
parts.
Yes.
Okay, you're claiming the Silver Coast as well. Take it away, Jerry. I'm about to give you 10 minutes. It begins now.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you to the previous contestants. I thought that was all very interesting. Paul gave us a tourist guide, and if you've got lots of money, that's clearly you want to go to the Algarve and spend money on boats and Formula One and climbing that one little mountain they've got. Trevor also gave us a tourist guide, but actually I can do that in a couple of days in visiting around Lisbon. Hank gave us a history lesson. Amazing, very interesting. but didn't really touch on lifestyle in Portugal. Astra did a little bit more, but you know, the Alentejo, it's flat and it's hot and it's a bit like a desert, and it's not the only place that has trees. So let's talk a little bit more about central Portugal and the reasons why I believe that central Portugal is the best place to live. First of all, the value for money. Then you've got the history and culture, which will appeal to Hank and possibly make him want to move. We have got beautiful scenery and beaches, and you're right, Carl, the Silver Coast is a part of central Portugal. I believe we've got 290 kilometers of beaches in central Portugal, which slightly knocks out the Algarve, I think. It's a very traditional area of Portugal, and of course the weather is very suitable. And let me go into these things a little bit more now. First of all, looking at value for money. So today I decided to try and rent one place and buy two others. And here's what I found near Aveiro, a 3-bedroom house to rent for 820 euros per month. Which I thought was pretty good. In Algarve, which is very near where I live, I found a 5-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms and 2 kitchens. I never understand why some Portuguese houses have 2 kitchens. Attic and a cellar, swimming pool, heating, etc. 297,000. And then in Lusa, near Coimbra, a 6-bedroom house, and this is a really big house. 3 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, a pool, central heating, a 6-car garage. Can you believe that? 6? Who's got 6 cars? 325,000 euros. And of course, all those prices are inevitably negotiable. There's lots more you can find, from projects from 50,000 upwards. If you've got a bigger budget, if you've got €500,000 euros to spend, you can buy yourself a palace here in central Portugal. Great value for money. History and the culture. Well, Hank talked a lot about this, but actually, did you know, Hank, that the first king and the second king, his son, are actually buried in Coimbra? And Coimbra was indeed the first capital of Portugal. The reason it was the capital was because the king happened to live there, and then he moved to Lisbon and brought all his office with him, and Lisbon became the capital. But as far as I know, nowhere is it written that any city in Portugal is the actual capital of Portugal. We have a wealth of historical towns and cities across central Portugal. We have 4 World Heritage Sites included. We've got amazing ruins reaching back to the Romans, through the Moors, plenty of medieval castles, which I absolutely adore going to see, as you know, Carl. And it's very easy to live the rural life here, but still be close to amenities. Unlike, say, the Alentejo, where you could be a long way away from anything. Nothing is too far from anything here. I live very rurally, but yet I'm only 4 kilometers from a local town where all the amenities are available. But it's also easy to live in these towns or cities with everything in walking distance. Good rail connections as well. And we say cities, but actually their cities here are just large towns by other European and certainly by North American standards. So we have a wealth of history and culture in central Portugal, all within easy reach. What else we got? Well, scenery and beaches. We have an amazing road infrastructure, and it really is a pleasure to go for a drive in this part of the world. Do you remember those days when we used to go for a drive just to have an ice cream or something? Well, you can still do that here, and it's great fun. We have these hidden gems called river beaches, and the reason they're hidden gems is because the locals don't like to tell you where they are. But these are amazing areas where beaches have been created and swimming areas around the rivers, and you get to swim in fresh water, which I'm told is much better for you than swimming in those filthy old oceans. And there are lots and lots of them hidden around Portugal, but you talk to the right people, you can find out where they are. We've got these wonderful schist villages, which always remind me of the Flintstones. It's a style of building from flint, but it's also a way of life. It's community style, and people sharing. I'll grow the tomatoes, you grow the potatoes, and we'll share, that kind of thing. And traditionally in schist villages, they traded with other villages across the mountains, and that's left some incredible hiking trails where the original schist people used to hike across to their neighbors to sell their goats or buy their potatoes or whatever it was. And as I mentioned before, we've got 290, hear that, Paul? 290 kilometers of amazing and beautiful beaches, except of course Nazaré, because that's the center for the surfing. And that can get quite busy, but also quite spectacular. Now, this is a very traditional part of Portugal. It's not very touristy, and the tourists we do get tend to be more sophisticated because they're educated and well informed as to and need to come here. Almost every village and town holds at least one festival per year. And these festivals will include traditional music and dancing, brass band marching, and even rock groups if you stay up late enough. The rock groups tend to sort of fire up about 1 in the morning and go on till 3 or so. But all the villages hold these festivals, and they've already started this year. And I think our local, our nearest village, I think, has one this weekend. Almost every village and town will have a local market, daily or weekly, or even sometimes daily, selling the farmers' produce, homemade cheeses, sausages, hams, honeys, etc., etc. Very popular in this area, and almost everybody visits the local market at least once a week. The people are extremely friendly and will go out of their way to help you. We take time to enjoy life in central Portugal, and people take time to help other people. And that's one of the most amazing things about this part of the world. And then there's the food. Now, most of the restaurants are for traditional food, and it's usually very inexpensive. We don't do fast food in central Portugal. Everything is cooked to order slowly and properly. And we have a few McDonald's, but literally just a few. So we've got that as well. And finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about the weather. Now, here we can see the weather conditions in January and in August across the 5 regions, looking at Porto for the north, Tomar for central, Lisbon, Beja, and Faro. And you can see that there's not too much difference in the weather patterns across the 5 regions. Algarve admittedly does get more sunshine. Central gets less sunshine. We get some cloudy days. We also get some rainy days, but we need the rain to fill up the wells so that we can water the gardens, so that we can produce good olives. And despite what Astrid said, there are good olives here in central Portugal as well as all the other crops and flowers and vegetables that we grow.
1 minute to go, Jerry.
The big thing about the weather in this part of the world is that although it can be hot during the day in the summer, it does cool down quite significantly at night. Today was a particularly hot day here for this time of the year, and it's already very comfortable for sleeping. We don't need air conditioning. It's a very, very pleasant climate to live in. Highly recommend central Portugal. Many of our members have decided to relocate here, and they can't be wrong, can they? That's it. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Excellent stuff. Came out fighting there, thinking to establish domination and hold on to this crown as the champion, current champion, best place to live in Portugal. Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you, everybody. Some people have made up their mind already. People like Barack, who says central, yeah, central. James, I think, has already decided that Lisbon is where it's at. For those of you who aren't quite so sure, I need to ask a few more questions. And I do understand it's difficult. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in any of these places that have been described tonight? I mean, that's Portugal for you, isn't it? And I'm glad, quite frankly, I'm not voting this evening because I would find it very difficult. If you're on the fence and you would like a bit of clarification, let's ask those questions now, shall we? Yeah, James saying all roads leads to Lisbon. I'm going to scroll back. We'll come back to that comment about all roads leading to Lisbon. I think we're going to start with the Algarve. So if you competitors, great job, everybody. If you can move to the edges of your seats. Thank you very much for your presentation so far. You're going to face some questioning now. And I think we first go to the Algarve, as you might expect, because Paul was first to present. Love the Algarve. Not sure we can find a long-term rental there. Seems that most of the rental properties are vacation homes. Totally get it, but we need a place to live. How difficult, Paul, then, is it to find somewhere to live in the Algarve?
It is difficult because it's the place to live. But if you get away from some of the main touristy areas, that means half an hour's drive at the most, you can get properties and rent property there without any problem at all. And the rates are probably less than they are in the north, especially in Lisbon. I've got friends who can rent property, and in the wintertime, they're only paying €400 a month. So, don't believe all what you hear. There are things that if you get away from the main well-known places, there are properties that can be rented quite reasonably.
Thank you for that. I think Trevor might have something to say about that, especially this next question, actually, because we're going to talk about the effect of tourism, and the Algarve will have to grapple with this, as will the capital. We'll stay with you, Paul, at first. What about the feast or famine because of tourism? Crowds versus deserted towns, places becoming like ghost towns in the winter, possibly in the Algarve. Is that a thing? Is that a problem? And then when it is the summertime, do all the prices shoot up because of the tourists?
Well, I think that let's turn the negative into a positive. We have 2 months which we have obviously a lot of tourists. That's July and August. That's 2 months. That gives us 10 months where we've got all the facilities to ourselves. So the roads are empty and we have everything that's happening for the tourists, for the people who live here. Wonderful. Ghost towns? No, I live in Alvo. And to be honest with you, the beach bars are closed. Sure, they're shut. But everything else, the restaurants, all right, they slim it down. But yeah, you won't starve in the Algarve, that I can promise you.
That's a nice new strap line for the tourist authority there. You won't starve in the Algarve. Very good, Paul. Is that one of yours?
Definitely.
Original. You heard it first tonight. Fantastic. So same sort of thing applies, I suspect, Trevor, in Lisbon. How do you manage that tourist effect? And does it make life a little bit unbearable at times being in the capital with the tourism effect?
Actually, you really got to live in Lisbon for a while to understand it. We don't live in a tourist area. Central Lisbon, there is no tourism. They don't venture this far off of the cruise ships and stuff like that. So we don't see it. You can certainly go down to the tourist areas and yeah, it's packed. But we know when we're down there, we jump the metro back home so we can eat in a reasonable locals neighborhood like our own. So you just know if you live in Lisbon, if you're during the tourist season, stay away from the riverfront because the cruise ships are there. Chiado, Baixa, everybody's down. Afama, it's packed. It is fun to go down there and it's fun to mingle with them.
Yeah,
we know we're coming home, getting away from them.
Fair enough. So if anyone is interested in living in Lisbon, Trevor and Shannon know exactly where to live to avoid that sort of pressure, which is increasing, of course, in Porto as well, Hank. How is it for you mingling among the tourists? You have been one, and now you're the Tripeiro Novo, an actual Porto man. What's it like contemplating tourism up there and coping with that? No, we can't hear you now, Hank. As one of the other competitors.
I forgot my microphone. Sorry.
I thought it's a bit of foul play from one of the other competitors there. We've got you back now. Well done.
Might have been. No, all these damn tourists everywhere. It's terrible. No, actually, where we're at, we are in Gaia, and we're about 5 stops or so away from the Pont Louis Bridge, in the Douro.
Yeah.
And so when you're down there at certain times of the year, it can get pretty crowded. And certain times of the day you want to avoid like the metro and things like that, because it is right. And I think it was 2020. I could be misremembering the date where, Porto was voted as, one of the top tourist destinations in Europe and all this sort of stuff, or whatever the award was. So now that COVID's let up, the people are definitely coming back. So if you're along the Douro and that area, then it can get pretty crowded. But where we're at, we're 5 stops away from that. We're actually in a middle class or a working class Portuguese neighborhood, and there's no reason for a tourist to come up this way. So you can get down there if you need to, if you want to go down and hang out the river, but you can avoid the tourists in that regard anyway.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that there, Hank. And all roads lead to Lisbon. True. That's Gail picking up on James's point, especially from the central region with trains, excellent roads, and to Porto too, with nice wine along the way, lovely cheeses, olives and olive oil, a nice day or two away. So why we decided on the central region near Tomar Orang. Good going, Jerry. I think we know which way Gail might vote tonight. Not too many people upset that there's only a couple of McDonald's in Central. I don't think anyone's unhappy about that, actually. Debbie, Trevor picking up on the point there. Lisbon is very diverse and accepting. You might want to pick up on what Hank was saying earlier on. The capital's equally accepting, is it not, Trevor?
It is. You would not believe the... Well, again, we're in a locals neighborhood with about 80 nationalities. So there's no such thing as, it's just, everybody just gets along and you do what you want to do. Everybody's friendly. Like you said, Hank was saying about the North. I find Lisbon, getting our glasses fixed for free, getting our keys cut for free, friends. We've never had anything but friendliness and everybody just being really kind. If somebody leaves their backpack when they leave a park, we shout out, "Hey, amigo, you left your back." People leave their wallets on the tables at the park, their phones to go to the kiosk to get a beer. It's a different world here.
Very safe.
Very safe.
So you shout after the tourists, "I've checked your wallet, there's nothing in it here, you left it behind." Okay, they are all awesome areas, but which one may be more liberal and diverse, picking up on what you're saying there, and accepting of all lifestyles? I think Amit makes a great point. The country itself, the whole of the country, is quite liberal in general, but the cities seem more cosmopolitan and diverse. So maybe Hank and Trevor, you might have that point, unless Jerry, Astrid, or Paul want to pick up on that, on the matter of diversity and being accepting of different nationalities and lifestyles. Anything for Paul, Jerry, or Astrid on that?
I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, Paul.
I think the Algarve, we're a tourist area, so we get a lot of international people here. And I think that's a good thing because it brings all the different restaurants, the types of food, and it becomes very cosmopolitan as the Algarve. So you have so much choice. It's not restricted just to Portuguese food. We have everything here. So I think that's a positive.
Diverse in the diet department as well. We'll stay with you, Paul, because John and Daryl say we felt like we left Portugal when we neared the Algarve. Some harsh criticism there, too commercial. You may want to defend that.
Well, we're all different, and I don't care where you live in Portugal. It's what suits your lifestyle, and I think you've got to do a tick box of what fits what you want. And if you want sunshine, if you want warm weather, the scenery here is just incredible. And okay, for 2 months of the year, yes, we are busy, but Portugal needs that input of cash. So we do support, the whole part of Portugal from a tax point of view. So somebody has to pay for that, and we'll sacrifice 2 months, but we'll have the rest of the 10 months just to ourselves.
I see what you did there. So you would make the case, yes, parts of Algarve are a little bit commercial, but how else are you going to stoke the cash into the coffers and the ovens of the economy?
It's true.
Well said. Okay, good. Jen is asking about not having a car. Now, this is a consideration for some people moving to Portugal. And yes, Trevor's right there with this. I'm going to go around everybody on the panel here to ask them what it's like to be in their area without their own motor vehicle. Let's start with you, Trevor. You're keen to answer this, aren't you?
That's why we're in central Lisbon. There's no need for a car. It's ridiculous to have a car here. We
Yes.
can walk anywhere, and if we decide not to, it's the metro, the bus, trains. Want to go across the river, catch the ferry.
And it all uses the same Metro card.
Same metro card, same pass. If you want to do unlimited, it's $40 a month.
What?
Yeah, $40 a month for the Navigant card, and you're good for the whole month of traveling anywhere you want in the metro,
And free for over 60.
and free if you're over 65.
Oh,
Those
okay.
days aren't quite close yet.
Well, you feel like Vasco da Gama. I mean, he's a bit older than 65 for sure. But with that pass in your hand, you can go anywhere on all those various forms of transport. And actually, so well, from what you're saying, it sounds like it's actually a pain to have a car in the capital. You're better off without one.
We don't. We predominantly walk or just do the Zap because there's so much stuff within a couple of kilometers. You really got to make an effort to, hit some place to really, to go up the beaches. During the summer, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
But the buses and everything are so cheap.
And you walked 800 miles, did you say, last year?
Yeah, 800 miles in Lisbon alone last year.
Incredible. You could have got to Hank. You could have gone to see Hank for lunch. Amazing. Okay,
we
thank
saw Hank 6 times last year.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to do that. Okay, Hank. Right. Astrid, having a car, not a good thing in Lisbon, but you're going to need one, aren't you, in the Alentejo?
I guess it depends on what you want out of your life. Like if you live in one of the villages, you'll have everything that you need that's walking distance, but to go anywhere would be complicated.
Yeah.
To leave the village. But if you're living rurally in the Alentejo, then you definitely will need a car.
Okay, thank you for that. Similarly, Jerry, I think you probably need a motor vehicle for most parts of central Portugal, unless you're living.
No, not necessarily. I think that you can live in somewhere like Coimbra, Tomar, Leiria. No need to have a car, good rail connections and good national coach connections to those cities, and everything available in walking distance. Someone like Como, for example, every amenity is available within walking distance of the town centre, and regular trains running to connect with the intercity trains as well as the local trains.
Yep.
and a national bus service. So you can do that. But it would be a shame, in my view, as a keen driver, to miss the opportunity of exploring Portugal by car. So, even if you don't want to have a car, think about renting a car occasionally and just going off the grid and just exploring and getting lost, which is very easy to do in Portugal. But you can usually find your way back out again. But you'll discover some amazing little sights and sounds and so on.
Super.
So I think that have the best of both.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And Barak is with you again on Central, I think there. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Barak saying we want to retire, slow down, best value for money, good weather, lots of rivers, beaches, and less tourists and lower prices in the restaurant. Central all the way for Barak there. So I think people are beginning to form their opinions, and we will vote soon. I think maybe just like maybe a 10 or 15 second blast from each of our competitors here seems fair, to bring in anything they may have forgotten, or just to help people tip over the edge with their voting here. So let's go with the reigning champion at the moment, Jerry. A quick a soundbite from you, please, about the Central Portugal region.
Peaceful, value for money, really good lifestyle.
There you
That's
go.
it.
Thank you very much for that. Definitely the tourist boards of all of Portugal should be watching some gems, some great material coming. Astrid, how would you sum up quickly in a soundbite for the Alentejo?
Clean air, affordable, off the beaten track, and peaceful.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. I'm so glad I'm not voting. Let's go to you, Hank, please, for your Porto soundbite, please.
Well, you have to look at the spirit and the energy of a place. And Porto has a liberal, progressive, inclusive vibe, diversity, and a spirit of we, not me. And so if you're looking for a place that is welcoming, stable, safe, inclusive than Portugal in general, Porto specifically.
Well said. Thank you very much indeed. Trevor, let's go to you. Your final word.
Wow. So I gotta just say, if you're looking for the most metropolitan EU destination that's affordable for people and culture, you come to Lisbon. That's why we're here. It's the most affordable metropolitan, the people, the culture, everything going on, no cars, just the whole European vibe. That's Lisbon in a nutshell.
Thank you very much for that nutshell. Fantastic, Trevor, with added commentary from Shannon as well. And where we started this evening with Mr. Richards in the Algarve, a few words from you before we go to the all-important voting. Someone's going to get knocked out in just a moment.
Well, obviously, the Algarve has got to be the weather. And I think the feel-good factor of waking up every morning and seeing that beautiful blue sky, you just feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the way to start the day. Feeling good, being in the Algarve, enjoying your life.
Feel good factor for Paul there. Okay, great. Thank you, all of you. Great job tonight. You've done Portugal proud, and I think you've done your respective areas proud as well. Yes, quite right. Rounds of applause there. A great presentation, says Theodore, making the decision more difficult. However, one needs to be made now. You'll be voting for your favourite, and the person with the least votes will be walking away. They can hold their head up high, but they may well have their Portuguese tail between their legs tonight. It's a tough one. Yes, Theodore, making the decision more difficult. I feel I like aspects of all regions, most likely visit each before committing. That's a good idea. And you may be able to invite each of these wonderful combatants out for lunch to help find out a bit more about each of the regions. Even better if you offer to buy them lunch. I'm sure they'll meet you. Okay, let's run that poll now. And you will see here that some voting has already been taking place. But if you haven't, please make your decision now. And watch this before your very eyes. Thank you to Zoom technology, which isn't always my friend, but this looks pretty impressive here. I think the voting has been running in the back there. Has everybody voted? Will you please?
Do we not get to vote ourselves, Carl? No.
Jerry, I think some of you already have. You're asking me that me that question all innocent like that.
Well, I can't see the poll, so I'm just worried that somebody else can't see it.
Don't worry, they all voted for me.
Okay.
No, some people are saying they can't see the poll.
Well,
Yeah.
it's on the screen, everybody. I don't know what else I can do.
It's not, Carl.
All right. Well,
Try again.
All right. I'm going to go back and I'm going to launch the poll now.
And no double voting.
No, I don't think. I think it's figured out technologically that you can't double vote.
If you've already voted, it's not appearing, right?
I think that's how it is here tonight, because we have got votes here. Somebody else, like I say, is going to be walking away this evening. If you can't see this on the screen, I'm going to share it with you now. And I'm going to build it up in an X Factor style and let you know that the Dream Team session will be on in about 10 minutes time. Time for a comfort break. And the Dream Team will be here answering all your questions about actually moving here. Now, we're going to find out or move you towards knowing that best place to live in Portugal. The voting is as follows. Jerry, you'll be pleased to know that 36% of the...
So many people didn't get to vote.
I honestly don't know what to do about that now. I have got votes in front of me. I have been flipping backwards and forwards.
How many votes are there?
It doesn't say that. It just tells me that people have voted. And I do have a representation. Have we got an ugly electoral scene on our hands? This is so...
Oh my gosh.
You're trying to move away from that. We're recreating it on the screen tonight. I honestly, Astrid, I don't know what to do here. I've got results in front of me.
Maybe we should have a raise of hands. We can go and count them. If everyone turns there.
Should we do that? Okay. I will go with the electronic scoring, and I can let you know.
I'll count the rest. I won't rig it. So maybe we should.
Oh, sure. You go ahead and count. I see how that's going to work out.
Oh, everyone can count with me. That's fine.
You can count as well, Donald Trump.
I know. How about we do this?
Okay, let's not have any name calling.
No. How about we do this? Everyone who votes for Paul, can they say yes in the chat right now?
Oh
And
my
we'll count
goodness.
those.
Well done, Astrid.
So
Okay.
Algarve,
we're gonna make
yes.
this easy. We're just gonna bow out. We're just
Fine.
gonna say Lisbon loses.
No. We can't have that.
No.
And do you know what I'm going to do to add extra tension to the situation here? I'm going to stop the recording. So those watching it
Yeah.
will have to come to the website to find out
Yes.
what happened. So we're stopping the recording now.